The nation's largest union of federal workers is calling on Congress to pass a short-term funding bill and immediately end the Trump shutdown as it heads into a fifth week. Everett Kelly, national president of the AFGE, who we've had on this program many times, says, quote, when the folks who serve this country are standing in line for food banks after missing a second paycheck because of the shutdown, they aren't looking for partisan spin. They're looking for the wages they earned. The fact that they're being cheated out of it is a national disgrace.
I still think to some extent, I wonder how you both gauge it, that a lot of folks still look at this president and they look at this situation because we've been here before, 2018, 2013, et cetera. With the shutdown, they still look at things through a conventional lens. And I'm wondering if there's a trigger point, because when you look at the polling on who's to blame, only 50% of the American people, after everything we know, after everything has come out, and after everything's happened so far, only 50% versus 43 blaming Democrats, tells me that there's still some conventionality going on here, that people still kind of
return to their partisan line.
They return to their partisan line, but more importantly, they put less on this president than I think we may realize in many respects.
Maybe you're right. I mean, personally, I think it's insane that the president of the United States is literally in Asia,
right,
while the government is shut down, while Americans are standing in food lines, while moms and dads are going to be missing their SNAP benefits, while children are potentially about to go hungry, while people will not be able to afford the health care that they need, whatever that health care is. And the president is just flying around talking about an MRI that he got, and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jasmine Crockett. I think it's insane. I do think, though, that Everett Kelly, who will join us on our program tomorrow, is on to something here. And the reality is these government workers are not just people here in D.C., Maryland, or Virginia. These are folks all across the country, the TSA agents, right? The people that work at the USDA plant in the insert state here, the VA worker in Pittsburgh or Omaha, Nebraska. And they are hurting. They have now missed 2 paychecks. So I think the pressure is not just on Democrats. The pressure is actually on Republicans, because I'm looking at the Capitol. The Democrats are here. The Democrats in the House and the Senate are here. The Republicans in the Senate are here. The Republican Speaker of the House and the Republicans in Congress and the House of Representatives are AWOL.
The Democrats are here, but you have a major union saying this has gone too far and we're done. Do you think, are you hearing from Democrats that puts pressure on them?
The people said they're gonna have a meeting tomorrow. That's what they told me. They said, well, you know, we're going to talk about it in the meeting tomorrow. They got meetings tomorrow. I think this is putting pressure on them, but I will say this, let me put my former strategist hat on. I think that the Democrats cannot cave because AFGE says this is getting bad. Y'all knew it was going to get bad. That's why we got to get something for the American people, and we cannot wait. We cannot dilly-dally.
I think another important turning point on this to the meeting that's happening on your side of the aisle tomorrow, on my side of the aisle tomorrow, the vice president has been tasked to meet with U.S. Republican senators at their every Tuesday lunch. I've had the privilege of being in that meeting. I can tell you what happens there. That's the conversation around marketing, messaging, and management. And those 3 things are now front and center on this shutdown. How do they market it? How do they message it? How do they manage it? Because I think, to my earlier point and what you've just laid out, Simone, that polling we see, it's about to turn. And they're afraid of that.
Breaking tonight, Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen is introducing a resolution to issue a formal Senate condemnation of Donald Trump for reportedly seeking $230 million from the Justice Department for the past investigations into him. Senator Rosen is aiming to bring up the resolution as a unanimous consent request as early as tomorrow. And Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada joins us now.
It is so good to have you at the table. Yes. Thank you so much. So there are multiple outrageous pieces to this. The first outrageous piece is the request from the president to his own Department of Justice. The second potential outrageous piece is that if you talk to anyone who ordinarily brings this type of effort forward, they say DOJ never goes for this without a lawsuit being involved. They don't clear it. So if his own DOJ were to say, you know what, you're right, here's $230 million, thank you so much, that will be outrageous. And then if we were to somehow end up in the third step of this, where he was instead bringing a lawsuit against his own Department of Justice, that would be outrageous. So there really is no outcome here that feels all on the up and up.
Well, there's so many things wrong with this, but it's essentially, for the viewers at home, it is the fox guarding the hen house. Because here he is, it's his own DOJ. His feelings were hurt. So he's going to sue himself, and he's going to have the taxpayer, who he's fixed absolutely nothing for, he's going to have the taxpayer pay him almost $250 million because his feelings were hurt as president. So who does he decide to sue next week? What does he decide to do? So I put this resolution forward because I can tell you, whether it's this president or any others, no one should be suing and taking hard-earned taxpayer dollars to line their own pockets, number one. So who will stand up for this against the president? My Republican colleagues, you're about to find out tomorrow on unanimous consent. One Republican is on what they call the hotline now. One Republican can object. Let's see who they send to the firing line tomorrow and how they defend this. And I'm sure it's not the end of us talking about it. And I'll be damned if I can look at people when I go to the market and the price of everything is up. Donald Trump has just written himself a check. He laughs. Isn't this cute? It is not cute.
My feelings are hurt all the time, Michael.
Oh, mine stay hurt too. Particularly when
government's not writing you a check for $250 million for that.
But not only is the president asking for the government to pay him $230 million, and I appreciate the fact that you've put something on the table to kind of call the Republicans out on that, as well as the president. But then the other side of that coin is you have the president stripping bare, destroying, tearing down, whatever words you want to use, the East Wing, and building this monstrosity that is going to be bigger than the actual footprint of the White House itself, using private money. All right, supposedly private money. So where is the oversight here? Where's the emoluments clause? This president is seeking benefit directly for himself and at the same time getting side benefits from others. Because, you know, I'm sorry, big corporations aren't writing a big check to Donald Trump just because they like the color of his hair or they like the size of his pants. What they're doing is they're writing that check for a reason.
That's right, because they want access.
And they want access.
This is a clear violation of the Hatch Act. It's one thing if you have a presidential library or other things where you raise into a fund for that. But first of all, this is the White House. He did not go through any review. He tore down the entire East Wing. He frankly lied to us. He lies to us every single day. The worst part of all of this is that my Republican colleagues, now we can say, we know that Speaker Johnson, well, he's no more Speaker Johnson because the president has declared himself President and Speaker of the House. Yes. Leader Thune not far behind. So I'm really tired of my colleagues in the Senate behind the scenes going, Lord, help us all. How can this happen? We don't like him either, whatever they say. Let them finally stand up for what is right and what is American. I walked today, into the Capitol. We go vote. You walk up the porte cochere, and above the transom, it's beautiful ironwork, and it says U.S. on it. Well, U.S. for United States, but for us, it is for us. All of this, whether it's health care, whether it's tariffs, lowering prices for everyday people, affordable housing. The White House is the people's house, not his house. The DOJ is the People's Department of Justice, not his personal law firm to do what he wants and then rob the American taxpayer. And so when we think of everything that Donald Trump does, he does it just for a party of one. It's for him, not for us. And I'm tired of my colleagues not standing up for what is right.
Can I do a quick follow-up on that? So will the donors who wrote the checks, companies that we know and brands that we're well aware of, will they be held accountable on the back end? Because this White House is not going to give it. But if you guys get access to that information, are there going to be public hearings and disclosures on who wrote checks, how much, and what they got for it?
I can tell you it is our job in the House and the Senate, in the Congress, to be sure that we do oversight. We see this administration firing inspector generals, tearing down anybody who could take a look at anything. You see them closing websites. You see them making blatant lies. You see them, I'll tell you this about SNAP that is about to expire. In September, USDA had a beautiful website up there. They said they were going to talk about how they could move money around. They could make sure that people who are food insecure in this country could continue to receive their benefits. That's all gone, hidden. You know what's up there? Some propaganda. And so we need to take back our Article I power. We need to stand up for all of us and be sure that people who are in charge in this country treat the American people with the respect that we all deserve and should expect.
Well, I mean, speaking of that Article I power, and you talked about the shutdown, I mean, Congress could end the shutdown today. Republicans could negotiate with Democrats to get the votes and reopen the government. This is what's happening in your home state of Nevada. These are some headlines. Nevada snapped to go without funding as government shutdown stretches on. From the Las Vegas Review-Journal, federal nuclear workforce in Nevada furloughed as funding runs out. And from the Las Vegas Sun, shutdown threats put already shaky Las Vegas tourism at risk. Given all of this, and we know we've heard from the American Federation of Government Employees, head of the union today, has that changed I mean, Senator Durbin was out there saying, we're going to have to talk about this. I'm not changing my vote at this time, but he was on the Hill saying, this does change things. What say you? Because the bill that the Republicans keep asking y'all to vote on only funds the government through mid-November. I believe 21st. November 21st.
That's
yes.
Correct.
So that would not alleviate the concerns that
right.
folks all across this country have, that the people in your state have. What do you think should happen?
Well, first of all, nobody wants a shutdown, least of all me. But what we have to do is we have to somehow get the attention of the American people about what's happening in this administration. Now, for the tax credits, the Affordable Care tax credits, we knew that they're about to expire at the end of this year. When we kept the government open in March, we said, well, we're going to figure out what we're going to do going forward. How do we extend it? How do we create an atmosphere where people can just buy a damn insurance policy? What this is essentially about is people's ability to buy themselves an insurance policy. It's not welfare. It's not a paycheck. People want to be able to afford insurance so they can go to the doctor and get their health care. They've done none of that. Now, hopefully we have their attention. What we're asking them to do is to not let folks fall off this cliff where millions of Americans, regardless of how you get your insurance, mind you, insurance rates are going up. Well, just ask your best friend, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's going to tell you what's happening in her own family, right? Double. So we want to extend that so folks don't fall off the cliff, number one, and let Leader Thune be a real leader and put together a bipartisan working group that comes up with a framework with benchmarks and things that we can work on that's going to make our health care more affordable and accessible for everyone, because this is an all of us problem and it is a now problem. And Republicans could fix that now. Well, if Donald Trump let them, Mike Johnson, he's never coming back. But Thune needs to stand up for the United States Senate. We are the backstop. History will judge him on this, and people will be hurt. So we want them to come to the table. I don't think it's unreasonable. They haven't been trustworthy partners before, and put something down that the American people can hopefully hold them accountable to.
So set against the backdrop of all that, P, and I want to loop back to where we started. You said you had one Republican on the line. I'm not sure if I didn't understand the joke. Is there a Republican you think is going to join you in voting for the resolution on Trump?
No, one Republican gets to object. It only takes one to object.
Now I understand the math.
Send to the firing squad.
So then my question is, if not a single one of them joins you, do you then say, you're responsible. You have signed off.
So what happens? I'll explain when people talk about this unanimous consent. Tonight, we're kind of running it through the Senate. Someone's going to say whether they object or not. 99 other senators, anybody can object to it. They say they're going to object. We go to the floor tomorrow, and I'll present my resolution condemning the president for ripping off the American taxpayer for $230 million. Check payable. He's signing off on a check from himself to himself out of the American taxpayer's bank account. So if nobody objects, then great, the resolution will be passed. If someone objects, that means they have to come to the floor, and you can watch them tomorrow on C-SPAN, and you'll see what their argument is. Or if they'll just object and run away. Sometimes they just object and run away because they don't want to say anything. I know you've seen that too.
They always swear the pain is temporary. It'll pass. It's politics. But tell that to the TSA agent in Omaha who just missed a second paycheck. Tell that to the VA clerk in Pittsburgh who's staring at a past due notice while the president flies around bragging about himself. This isn't politics. It's power without responsibility. And tonight, the dam is cracking. Even Republicans in the Senate are quietly edging toward the exits from Trump's budget hostage-taking because the human cost is getting too loud to ignore. Here's the reality on the ground. Federal workers, everyday people, not Beltway caricatures, are in food bank lines because a shutdown has stretched into weeks. Everett Kelly from the AFGE said it plainly. These folks aren't looking for spin. They need the wages they earned. Meanwhile, Democrats are in the building. Senators are in their seats. House Democrats are ready to vote. The group that's AWOL, House Republicans, and a speaker who treats governing like a podcast appearance he can reschedule. And then there's the Senate lunchroom, where marketing, messaging, and management are the plan. Because when your policy is indefensible, you work on the slogan. The White House is also pushing a fresh outrage, a president effectively asking his own DOJ to cut him a $230 million check for his hurt feelings. Senator Jackie Rosen is moving a resolution to condemn it, and it only takes one Republican to object, to put their name on, yes, the taxpayer should reimburse the president. One, we'll all see walks to the mic. Here's what's really happening. The MAGA project has always been a party of one, and the bill is due. The shutdown isn't a bargaining chip. It's a shield to hide the fact that there is no health care plan, no cost of living relief, no roadmap beyond grievance. You can feel the panic in those Senate meetings because even the polling they cling to can't paper over grocery prices, rent spikes, or the SNAP benefits cliff. If you're a Republican senator, you can keep repeating the lines, or you can read the room, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Georgia, the places where real families are telling you this stunt is unbearable. The moral truth is simple. If government means anything, it means you don't force your neighbors into hunger to score a cable hit. You don't turn the people's house into a private cash machine. You don't cut off paychecks from the air traffic controller and then board your plane with a grin. That is corruption dressed up as courage. That is cruelty packaged as strategy, and it's failing. So here's my ask of the so-called grown-ups on the Republican side. Quit the performance. Quit the fear. If 60 senators quitting Trump's bill sounds dramatic, good. Because that's what governing with a conscience looks like in a crisis. A rush for the exits from a bad idea. End the shutdown. Fund the government. Put workers first. History will remember who showed up and who hid behind the door while America waited in line.